I was there when Captain Alexander Kelsey Thorp was killed. There are moments in a soldier's life that refuse to fade, no matter how many years pass or how many battles follow. The morning of September 19, 1864, at Opequon, what the world now calls the Third Battle of Winchester, is one of mine. Captain Thorp commanded Company F of our regiment, the First New York Dragoons. He had entered service when we were still the 130th New York Infantry, and like many of us, he had adapted to the saddle when we were converted to cavalry. He did not merely wear the title of captain, he carried it properly. His men trusted him because he led from the front, and because he never asked of them what he would not do himself. By 1864, the Shenandoah Valley had become a furnace. Cavalry fighting there was swift, violent, and personal. We were armed with Spencer carbines by then, a weapon that gave us terrible efficiency. But the enemy was resolute, and the field at Winchester was chaos. Artillery tearing the air, musketry flashing through smoke, mounted columns pressing forward under punishing fire. That morning, during a furious advance against the Confederate left, Captain Thorp and I found ourselves together amid the skirmish line. The air was thick with powder. Men were falling, ours and theirs. He surveyed the ground ahead with that composed expression he always seemed to carry, even under strain. He turned slightly toward me and said, in a tone almost reflective, "Those hostiles over there are making widows and orphans at a lively rate." It was not bravado, it was not fear, it was recognition, a sober acknowledgement of what war was doing that day. Moments later, before another word could pass between us, he was struck. A bullet caught him square in the forehead. It was instantaneous. He fell without a cry. I remember the shock more than the noise. The battle roared on around us, indifferent and relentless. Men of Company F rushed to him. We carried him from the line as best we could under fire. There are tasks in war that demand strength of arm. There are others that demand strength of heart. Bearing a fallen captain from the field requires both. Bowen later recorded the moment in his regimental history, and he did so truthfully. Thorp was struck during that skirmish while speaking with me. The men admired him deeply, and his death struck the regiment hard. That is no embellishment. It is fact. But what the printed page cannot fully convey is the weight that settled over us afterward. Victory came that day. The Confederate line broke, and Winchester fell into Union hands. Strategically, it was a triumph. For the Dragoons, it was also a wound. Captain Thorp was not only a company commander, he was the brother of Colonel Thomas Jones Thorp, who commanded our regiment. The loss of an officer is always heavy. The loss of a brother within the chain of command is heavier still. There are griefs that reports do not list, and that morning added one to our ranks. He had ridden with us through Suffolk, Deserted House, Todd's Tavern, and Yellow Tavern. He had helped shape the regiment during its transformation from infantry to cavalry. He understood the discipline required of mounted troops, the necessity of cohesion when momentum can turn in an instant. He carried himself with quiet resolve, and the men followed him because they believed in him. After the battle, when the noise had faded and the smoke lifted from the valley, the absence became real. Company F had lost its captain. The regiment had lost a steady hand. A family had lost a son and a brother. He now rests in Short Track Cemetery in Allegheny County, New York, far from the fields of Opequon. It is a quiet place, fitting perhaps for a man whose courage needed no spectacle. When I recall that day, I do not dwell only on the violence. I remember the sentence he spoke, measured, observant, almost weary in its clarity. It revealed his understanding of war's true cost. Within seconds of speaking of widows and orphans, he had ensured that his own family would know that grief. That is how quickly history turns. Captain Alexander Kelsey Thorp's name endures in the history of the First New York Dragoons. But for those of us who stood beside him, it endures in something deeper, memory sharpened by loss. He led from the front. He faced the enemy without hesitation, and he fell in the performance of his duty. Some victories are written in dispatches. Others are written in the lives of the men who did not return.